So we talked about Tobey Maguire, we talked about Andrew Garfield. Now it's time to talk about Tom Holland. Spider-Man Homecoming was the next iteration of the Spider-Man series. As far as movies go, it actually pushed out the Inhumans and made it a god-awful TV show. But I think this was a way much better upgrade. Let's be honest, if you were to pick between the Inhumans and Spider-Man, which one would you pick? Yeah, that's what I thought. And I love that first introduction to Spider-Man because we got to see a taste of him in Captain America Civil War, where he was such a standout, and it was like very cool to see a teenage Peter Parker and an actual teenager. Like, he didn't look grown. He like it's one of the advantages that we had for Tom Holland. He actually looked young enough to be a Peter Parker in high school. That was probably the best part of this whole movie. It being centered around high school. He's still like a dork, a loser apparently to many people, but deep down he's Spider-Man. But in this world, he kind of doesn't care because, like I said, he's Spider-Man. We skipped the origin story. We all know it. Like I said, it takes place right after Civil War, and all Peter Parker wants to do is be an Avenger. He's constantly trying to impress Mr. Stark, Happy Hogan, and nobody seems to get to him. You know, they just see him as a kid. They just see him as just a typical guy. So they just say they'll call him when it's time, but they just never call him, and he just wants to be an Avenger so bad. He does all these missions on the side. He's stopping a guy who stole a bicycle. Spider-Man just wants to fit in so bad. But eventually, one day happens where people are robbing banks. People dressed like the Avengers with Avengers mask, and Peter starts fighting them off, and then turns out that they have these super powered weapons. And, you know, we were questioning where did these come from. And turns out that the Vulture, and as well as a group of his friends, are selling these weapons that they stole during the 2012 Avengers movie, where they had that big battle against Loki. So all of those weapons were stolen, and basically, to sum it up with the Vulture, they took our jobs. They basically want to change the world and selling these weapons, and even though it's going to cause a lot of crimes, they even have brief cameos of the Thinker, the Shockmaster. Basically, we get a precursor of villains that we don't know about yet. The Prowlers in this, Scorpion, who we've been begging to see for a long time at the end credit scene, whoever Austin Theory was supposed to be. We do kind of set up a world where we are already establishing the many characters that we will see in the Spider-Man universe, even though to this day we haven't seen yet. Maybe we'll see him in Brand New Day, who knows. One of the biggest criticisms that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has always had was the villains being lame. And this was the first one since Loki that we were very invested in. First of all, they got a top-notch actor in Michael Keaton portraying the Vulture. And I thought he did a great job. He's just a typical family man that wants to make some cash. And he got screwed over by Tony Stark and Stark Industries and all of those people. And he's just returning the favor. And in the process, Peter is just trying to get Stark and Happy Hogan to listen. And they just do not. And, you know, he just ends up doing stuff on his own. However, the big aspect is that Peter's just a kid. Or they just see him as a kid, and he's constantly going to screw up. He missed the decathlon. He had detention constantly. Just everything that could go wrong with Peter Parker happens in this movie. And that was just like the right amount of balance for Peter Parker. So why did the Vulture play it easy with Spider-Man? Well, plain and simple. Once you figure out that Spider-Man saved his daughter's life, Liz, who is Peter Parker's love interest in this movie, who honestly I did like Liz. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get the Liz from Spectacular Spider-Man, but let's remind ourselves that this is a whole different universe. Um, and then Ned, who did a really good job. You know, a lot of people don't like Ned because he's basically Genki from Miles Morales' universe, but I like them. You know, we need a break from the Osborns. I think we had enough of the Osborns up to this point, especially given the last iteration of the Osborns. We needed a break from them. Zendaya, who people were questioning if she was going to be a good Mary Jane, and well, she wasn't Mary Jane. She was Michelle Jones, or MJ for people, and that's really the only thing we didn't like. And I think to this day we don't like that MJ is actually Michelle Jones, not Mary Jane. Like, we would have been fine with her being Mary Jane if they just owned it from the start. She doesn't really do much in this movie. If anything, she does way much more in the later movies. Here she just kind of like a side character. She stalks Peter around. She kind of hints at having a crush on Peter, but it's really random when Peter eventually does fall for her. I'll talk about that more in Far From Home when I ever get to that review. In this movie, I thought that Flash Thompson was a different type of Flash Thompson that we kind of needed. I liked the actor in Dope, and the Grand Budapest Hotel, and I've actually seen him before on interviews and stuff like that. He actually seems like a really cool guy, and I thought he was okay as the Flash, like as a modern version of Flash Thompson. So I wasn't bummed out that he wasn't this buff guy who picks on Peter and bullies him around. I do wish that we kept him around in the later movies. He just kind of steps to the side and he just becomes a dork, which is kind of weird to say. But anyways, the main story, like I said, with Vulture wanting to sell these weapons, he was planning on taking a break, but he just needed one more mission. He was set for life, but Peter just refuses to like let people get hurt in Queens. Like his buddy who sells sandwiches got hurt in the process. A lot of other people. That's how Peter wants. He just wants to stop the violence and stop this. And I think this is what this Spider-Man needed. They needed a simple story to get you invested. Save the big moments for the Avengers and any big mainstream movie. Like right now, all Spider-Man needed to do is be introduced. Now let's talk about some of the problems with this movie. The spider suit. Now it looks cool. It looks great. I love the eyes moving. But my problem with the suit is that it's too techy. It's not what Peter Parker would have. Obviously, I understand Tony Stark gave him the suit, but we don't get to see like Spider-Man really be Spider-Man. He does his webbings, he does all this cool stuff, but like for him to have so much tech in the suit, it just takes away from it. I was so satisfied when we got the old ugly suit at the final battle with Vulture, because we needed that type of battle instead of what we did get. No hate on the suit, but yeah, it was too techy for my point of view, if I'm being honest. Also, the lack of MJ was just kind of disappointing. I kind of wanted to see Zendaya do more in this movie. I kind of wish they started off as friends, and then maybe at the end when Liz goes away, Zendaya, or MJ I should say, can further like kind of help Peter get through it. Like, hey, listen, I'm always here for you if you want to talk. Like, we don't get that. Instead, we just have her drawing pictures, bothering, stalking Peter, and it's just random. Aunt May finding out at the end that Peter is Spider-Man was good, but I think there's more to it in the later movies. Like, she does freak out in this movie, but then over time she kind of gets over it. There is no Uncle Ben reference at all in this movie. Not even like, oh, Uncle Ben would have been proud of you. Nothing like that. They just completely erased that character. Uncle Ben is just kind of like just forgotten in this series, unfortunately. Troy O'Boyle 17, who is a very underrated YouTuber here, even though he does have quite a following in YouTube. He did an amazing job at rewriting Spider-Man Homecoming. I honestly think it's better than this movie, if I'm being honest. he took the what worked in this movie and what didn't work, and this kind of did the best with what he was given, and I really liked it, and I think you should go out of your way and check that out. It doesn't take away from the fun that I had with this movie. I still think this is a really great movie. Tom Holland as Peter Parker, like, he can slowly become my favorite. Like I said, currently my favorite iteration of Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield. Tobey Maguire was an amazing Peter Parker. I think Tom Holland found a great balance in between both, and I think that's why we love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He did a good job here, and we want to see him continue in Brand New Day, the Avengers, anything that you can. The final battle was very personal. They even have that final chapter iconic pose. And I love that they have Tony Stark kind of being like, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. And it kind of further pushes the with great power comes great responsibility line, but in a different way, because as much as Peter Parker wants to be an Avenger, he first needs to learn how to be Spider-Man on his own. And I think that's what the purpose was of this movie, and I really enjoyed it for that. Like I said, that final battle with Vulture and Spider-Man, where his wings are about to explode and he was still willing to save him. He ties him up. Vulture goes to jail in the process. Liz has to move away. There was just a lot to bury in, and we have a downer Peter Parker, but he learns from it, and in the process, he gets what he always wanted, and that is to be an Avenger. They even show us the Iron Spider suit, but then that's when Peter truly learns his calling. He should be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He shouldn't be an Avenger. He needs to keep it simple and still learn how to live life in the process. Like, I love that, and then even Tony Stark gets impressed by Peter's decision. Massive problems in the Sony world. First of all, the poster that they initially had is awful. That's why I'm not using it outside of this picture. I'm sticking to this one where it's more simple. And the trailer gave up a lot. They gave away beat by beat the movie. They didn't show you the whole movie, but they basically showed you beat by beat how the movie was going to go down, and I hated that. Sony, you should really stop promoting your stuff. Just stop. You just don't do trailers. Just tell us we're having a movie, and we'll go see it. Please. Like, I'm afraid to watch the Brand New Day trailers. Like, I know that I saw the suit of Tom Holland, but I'm not excited to see the trailers because I feel like it's just going to give away beat by beat the whole movie. Thank God they don't run the Avengers trailers. As far as a rating for this movie, I'm going to give it an A-. The movie is like half an Avengers MCU movie and half is a Spider-Man movie, so they were still trying to find that perfect balance in it, but I am satisfied. I was really happy with watching this movie, and yeah, it's one of my favorites, to be honest. The post-credit scenes show, like I said, Scorpion being hyped, but we're just counting down for when he actually shows up. And then we have a funny Captain America promo talking about patience. Sometimes some things could be such a disappointing. You wonder why you waited so long, basically mocking the post-credit scenes from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yeah. Overall, they did a good job at introducing us to this world. Some nitpicky stuff, but it is just the beginning of what is a great franchise. So, anyways, take care, everybody. I'll see you on the next video where we'll be reviewing the Spider-Man video game, Web of Shadows. I'll see you all tomorrow for that one.